You ever wake up to find your world, your home, your life's work under siege? Not by nature, not by misfortune, but by a smug, cream-colored envelope. That's the punchline I never saw coming. After years of floods, wild animals, even cancer, what finally pushed me to war wasn't fire or flood, but a letter. You gotta laugh, right? Or maybe you just grit your teeth and get to work. So I'm Sam Hudson. North Georgia mountains, trout ponds, 80 acres of stubborn ground handed down from my father and his before him. I always figured I'd die out here boots on, probably from a bear with more attitude than sense. I never imagined my real trouble would wear pressed khakis and sign their emails, "Sincerely the High Ridgewaters, HOA." That morning I found the envelope jammed in my iron gate. I almost tossed it. Not mailed, no sir, just wedged in there like a dare. I cracked it open figuring it'd be some church raffle or maybe one of those property tax flyers. But no 3 pages, 14-point Times New Roman, and all the smugness money can buy. Demanding I open my pond for community enjoyment and safety, tear down my hostel signs, build walking paths, benches, a floating dock. And my personal favorite, cease all use of chemicals or fertilizers that may affect the shared ecosystem. Never mind that the shared ecosystem was in fact 100% on my side of the fence. The kicker. They warned me of civil penalties and county intervention if I didn't comply. Like I was some squatter, not the guy who'd been renewing water rights since before their fancy subdivision even existed. I sat on my porch, black coffee in hand, rereading that letter until the absurdity burned off the anger. Civil penalties, community rights. You'd have thought they were building the next Hoover Dam. Now let's get something straight. I don't live in a subdivision. High Ridge Waters, this HOA with its logo and its Tesla chargers and its committees popped up less than 10 years ago, built on a ridge just south of my property. I watched those bulldozers roll over the trails my dad once took me hiking on, turning good earth into rows of steepford houses with artificial lakes and zero personality. Until now, we'd coexisted me with my trout, them with their manicured lawns. Then suddenly they decided my water was theirs. I could almost hear my old man mutter, "Let them try." I printed up a refusal letter, attached every deed map and water rights doc I had, state certified, notarized, airtight. One copy mailed, one hand delivered to their security office. Kid behind the desk tried to act tough, but he couldn't keep eye contact. I went home, doubled up the no trespassing signs, checked my cameras, repainted the authorized access only placard, and bolted it on the gate. Not paranoia, just knowing how fast talk can turn to action when people feel entitled. I figured that'd be it, or at least buy me some quiet. But 2 days later, I got a voicemail. "Hi, Mr. Hudson, this is Karen Worthington, president of the High Ridge Waters HOA. It's very important for neighborhood safety that we maintain water access and prevent individual control of natural resources." She sounded like she was offering me a casserole, but every word was dipped in honey and arsenic. I didn't call her back. I forwarded the message to my lawyer buddy in Athens and checked my cameras again. That afternoon, someone on a golf cart, blonde bob, clipboard, sunglasses, parked by my southern fence, peering in like she was house shopping. Took photos, made notes, didn't step foot on my property, but you know when a storm's coming. By evening, local friends were calling, asking why my name was being slandered as the guy blocking community swimming access. The HOA had started their whisper campaign. I was hoarding the pond, polluting it, refusing to let children fish. I'd battled worse, but this was different. This was calculated. 3 days later, just after sunrise, a white Cadillac SUV came crawling up my drive, 4 deep, 3 in navy polos with HOA logos, and Karen Worthington herself, crisp beige suit, all business. She had that look people get when they're about to talk sense into you. "We thought it was time for a friendly face-to-face," she called, waving a folder. "Just here to assess the area before scheduled improvements." One of her guys whipped out a tape measure, the other started jotting notes about trees. I told them to stop. "No one crosses that gate without a warrant." Karen smiled, all patience and condescension. "You don't need to make this difficult. The pond is a resource for all of us now." I shook my head. "No, it isn't." That's when her smile slipped. "Then I'm afraid this is going to escalate, Sam." And believe me, she meant it. They left, but next thing I knew, construction crews were hammering signs into my drive: community pond construction access. Please use caution. Some guy with a landscaping truck tried to back up to my fence line. Karen showed up again, pretending it was all a big misunderstanding. "We received provisional approval from the county," she said, all innocent. "We can begin low-impact prep." I told her not so nicely to leave. She threatened to call the sheriff, so I started recording on my phone, showing her crew trespassing, blocking my drive. Her guy holding up his camera narrating, "Ma'am, he's becoming aggressive. Should I call it in?" By the time deputies arrived, I had the footage ready. "Any weapons, sir?" they asked. "Not on me," I said. "Anyone injured?" "Nope." Karen accused Boone, my dog, of charging her contractor. The deputy looked at Boone, who was chewing a stick, then at me. I played them the video, no threats, no weapons, just me telling people to get off my property. The deputies told Karen to leave and to take her signs with her. She left, but the next morning Facebook lit up with posts about me threatening children and hoarding a community resource. It got ugly. I drove to the county land office, arms loaded with every deed survey and record I could find, my father's, my own, all of it. Jim, the clerk, just shook his head. "This ain't a trout licensing issue, is it?" he asked. "Nope. It's land theft dressed up as community planning." He brought in Lisa, a land use coordinator, who showed me a map on her tablet. My pond shaded green, a pedestrian trail running right through it. A temporary public access established 1996 pending confirmation. She said it was based on a document from the prior landowner, my father. I pulled out his notarized refusal dated 2006, rejecting all easement requests. Lisa went quiet. They promised to review and freeze all processing. Didn't stop the HOA. That night, a drone buzzed my pasture HRW Ecological Planning Committee stenciled on the side. The next morning, I found an old letter from my dad. "Let them pave their own damn pond. This one's ours." That was when I called Allie Ditt, environmental land rights attorney in Atlanta, old fed, tough as they come. She listened, said, "They're pushing the servitude angle. We get louder." She wasn't kidding. That night, just past midnight, Boone started pacing, low growl. Out back by the pump house, I caught two silhouettes fumbling at the power box. I shone my flashlight. "You're on private property. Step away." One bolted. The other stammered about a service ticket. Said the HOA had hired him. I took his picture, called the sheriff. By sunrise, one was in custody for trespassing and attempted tampering. The other's tracks led straight back to the HOA's gate. We filed charges. The HOA responded with a full-on lawsuit, claimed I was blocking established community easements, introducing chemical contaminants, endangering the shared environmental basin, demanding I remove fencing and pay $72,000 in damages. I nearly spit my coffee. $72,000 for fish poop and fences. Allie filed our countersuit, trespassing, sabotage, slander, fraudulent land filings, and wouldn't you know it, she found a digital signature on their survey amendment signed by a county officer a year before he was even hired. Forgery. That's when Karen launched her Blitz PR emails, flyers, Facebook posts, even a video of HOA kids pretending they'd grown up by the pond. I went on the local news, showed them the footage, the deeds, the truth. The judge granted a preliminary hearing, and suddenly it all cracked open. Turns out the county officer had forged signatures, the map was a lie, the easement claims were bunk. The hearing was wild. Karen didn't show, but her lawyer did, trying to bluff his way through. Allie was ready. She showed everything: the surveys, my father's letter, the video evidence. Even subpoenaed the notary. The judge didn't mince words. This court finds preliminary cause to investigate criminal forgery and zoning fraud. The county officer got escorted out by deputies, face white as a trout belly. Karen's response: "Spray paint on my mailbox, more online lies, even sabotaged my trout business." One client backed out. Someone tossed a roofing nail in the grass. Boone stepped on it, didn't whimper, just looked at me like, "Is that all they got?" I doubled my security, bought a drone, installed more cameras. Karen started sending volunteers to monitor the border, binoculars, lawn chairs. I kept reporting. The sheriff grinned. "You're playing it clean. Don't stop." Then the big day. Courtroom packed, reporters, HOA folks, neighbors who'd never spoken a word to me. Karen came in all pearls and self-importance. Allie took her apart piece by piece. The judge saw through it all: deliberate zoning fraud, forged government documents, illegal access attempts. Karen and her board referred for prosecution. HOA dissolved damages to be settled by liquidation of assets. You could hear the collective exhale in that room. Justice real, visible, poetic. But here's the kicker. Once the dust settled, folks from the HOA started coming to my door. "We didn't know," they said. "We thought you were the villain." Turns out Karen had been fleecing them: 2 fake invoices, personal retreats billed as development conferences, even a leased Lexus under communications. They started a class action against her. My damages claim came back $1.7 million. HOA assets paid half. Karen and her cronies the rest. That Lexus sold at auction paid for Boone's vet bills and a new drone. I rebuilt the gate, armored the pond's perimeter, and reopened for business. Funny thing, people now drove in from all over to fish just to see the pond that beat the HOA. I hired local kids, taught them the ropes, watched Boone relax for the first time in months. The air tasted different. Cedar fish feed and something like victory. One day I got a letter from the state water board wanted me to speak at a conference. I almost tossed it. But 3 weeks later, there I was standing in a hotel ballroom telling my story to a room full of city officials and landowners. I told them the truth about the land, the battles, the lies, and the lesson that nearly cost me everything. You can be right and still get run over if you don't stand your ground. I didn't do this to be a hero. I did it because too many people think the word community is a crowbar, not a handshake. But a fence done right says everything it needs to. Last week, a family stopped by. The little girl caught her first trout, screamed so loud Boone dove in to see what all the fuss was about. Her dad smiled, asked if I'd ever put up a sign that said private pond but friendly owner. I laughed. Maybe. But after all this, the pond doesn't need a sign anymore. It has a story. So here's my question for you. Where's the line between community and control? When does helping each other turn into taking from each other? And when push comes to shove, would you stand your ground? Or would you let the noise wear you down? Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you'd have done. Where's your line and how do you defend it? Because out here, lines aren't just on a map. They're carved by sweat, by stubbornness, and sometimes by war.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.